let me give a little overview about what we're going to hit and try to accomplish here. We're going to take questions too. So we'll talk about what you want to talk about a little bit as well. But we're going to talk about how a retirement account can own real estate and flip it. Okay. Or maybe you're doing a wholesale real estate deal. We did one on rentals already.
Yeah.
And that's a common strategy. I do rentals in my retirement account. I've never flipped a property. I've helped thousands of clients though.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk specifically about flipping a property because there's unique issues and things you need to know on a real estate flip versus a real estate rental in your IRA. So we're going to really hyper focus into that. Let me hit a couple of things to know. We're going to talk about how are you going to manage this property? How are you going to oversee the rehab? Can I work on the property or not? You know, what taxes do I have to be aware of? There's this tax called UBIT that people throw around. And does it apply to my IRA? Does it apply to my solo 401k?
That'll sneak up on you.
Yeah, that'll sneak up on you. And let me say this. There is some bad information out there.
A lot of it.
On flipping in particular, on solo 401ks. What's happened is some people have got a little bit of knowledge on retirement accounts and they've blown up the rules. They've misapplied them and they've explained it and put it on their websites and sold people on some of these ideas with wrong information.
And they're an expert.
Yeah, they're an expert,
right?
Yeah, I mean, if you got a website or a blog,
you're an expert.
You're an expert. So, I mean, I got a website and a blog. What am I saying? But you know what I mean?
At least you have some credentials.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm an attorney, but we need to clear up some of that because we've had to deal with some people who've got some wrong information and try to steer in the right direction. We just want you guys to kind of know what you need to know. We'll talk about partnering, how to bring partners in on the deal if you need to, and some creative ways to do that. And like I said, we'll field your guys' questions that you may have been encountering if you thought about flipping a property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we'll even bring up the trustee business trust.
Okay.
As well. We'll see if that comes up.
All right, we'll see.
All right, so again, put your questions there in the Q&A box, and we'll be monitoring that throughout and look forward to answering your questions. We do have several hundred people on, so we won't get to all of them, but we get through like almost 100 every time we do one of these. So
yeah, we'll hit them, and we got an awesome team on there. If anyone needs an account, some of our senior account reps that are on answering questions, you can just go to directedira.com and book a new account appointment with them.
Yep. It's right up there. Schedule new account call.
Yeah.
Boom.
No, this wasn't just, we used it. Good job, Aaron.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, so let me just give a quick disclaimer here. Since I am a lawyer, I'm going to be lawyer Matt right now. I don't like it when he appears, but sometimes you need lawyer Matt,
Do you want to borrow my glasses?
I kind of do, actually. They look very distinguished.
Yeah.
But just keep in mind, this is an educational event here, and this is meant to be educational in nature. For your specific transactions, go seek out your specific professionals, CPAs, attorneys, financial advisors, whatever it may be for what you're trying to do. We just want to provide resources to you so you can kind of be captain of your own ship. All right, so I'm Matt. I'm the CEO of Directed IRA. This is Aaron Halderman here, who's the COO. We would refer to him now. So I'm also a partner at KQS Lawyers. I've been a lawyer since 2004, but 2006 is when I started working in the space of self-directed IRAs. So I'm coming up on 15 years.
Congrats.
Of self-directed IRA work. Love it. I got a book, the Self-Directed IRA Handbook. This is the #1 book in the field on self-directed IRAs. It sold 30,000 copies. A competitor of ours just bought 40 copies of them to train their employees. So
it's a handbook.
Yeah.
It is the book.
It's not just us that use it because my employees have to because they work for me here, but our competitors use it too, which is a good little pound.
We even have book club here. In fact, we had it today.
Oh,
so all of our staff, we have a weekly book club meeting, and we do a chapter out of the book. So there you go.
Are they doing 50 Shades of Grey next month? Is that the book for next month? No, it's all the Self-Directed IRA Handbook.
There's 3 parts of that too, apparently.
Oh,
so
okay.
We're gonna be busy.
You would know. All right. Okay. Oh, the Self-Directed IRA Summit. Let me mention that. Aaron and I have been planning that with some of their team members here, of course. And there's 2 parts to that. We're going to do, this is October 22nd and 23rd here in Scottsdale. And what else? What do you want to tell them about it?
Yeah, so it's going to be awesome. We because of the current situation with, shutdowns and, with the pandemic, we did a lot of stuff virtual. So the last two summits we did live on location in Idaho with Mark J. Kohler, Matt's partner in the law firm. And so this will be the first one that we do back in person. And it's really what we're gearing this one towards is the networking experience. We won't be live streaming it and we won't be recording it. So if you want to come, you got to be there live. Yeah. And so we're doing a little different this go around. We did add a charity component to it. And so we'll have, an awesome charity component that you can participate in that if you'd like, but we're doing a golf tournament to help raise funds for the charity. And so we're going to do that on the first day, on the 22nd. Friday. Yeah, Friday the 22nd. And then that evening, we'll be doing a networking reception. And so the summit will actually be one full day on Saturday, the 23rd of October. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a couple different sessions going at the same time, because what we recognize, people are at different levels of their understanding and knowledge in our space. Some people are just getting started out with their first investment. Some of you have already done a couple deals, but you wouldn't quite consider yourself, advanced, maybe more intermediate. So we're going to have a couple different sessions going on and breakout so that we kind of cater to that and where you're at, and also allow you to, again, network. So it's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we're focusing on the live part of it and are excited to do that. And none of it will be recorded. You have to be there to get it. We have some of our, I should say, more successful account holders that are actually going to speak on some strategies that they've done.
That have millions in their Roth.
Yeah, to build their account. And, they're a little reluctant to do it, especially all the Peter Thiel, stuff's going on.
For sure.
So, yeah. But we just want to help other people kind of see what are successful people doing to build their self-directed retirement account. And it's not rocket science. It's not like there's some it's super complex and it's going to take, you got to go get a PhD to figure this out. No, it's let's just hear what other people are doing, get some ideas. And that's the purpose of it. We're trying to make it more case study-ist, educationalist, but also really practical on putting the deals together. How do you do it?
So come out, see us, network, go to sdirasummit.com, come to Scottsdale, Arizona. It's beautiful that time of the year. So we'd love to meet you in person. Cool.
All right. Okay. Let's get to the presentation here. Enough about us.
We're going to get into the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Meat and potatoes.
Okay. Let's talk about the self-directed IRA first. I think many of you who are familiar with the self-directed IRA, I just want to give a quick basis. Someone's seeing this stuff for the first time. You've got to start here, okay? But if you're going to flip a property, you're going to have these three components going on. But at first, you need a self-directed IRA. And so if you're like, Matt, I have an IRA at Fidelity, and I told them I want to flip a property I'm going to rehab it and flip it and sell it. They said I can't do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's because IRAs at Fidelity can't do that. That's a restriction Fidelity puts on their account. They're a broker dealer. They want you to buy what they sell, financial products. All right. So the first thing you got to do is if you have an IRA at a broker dealer, they're not going to let you do any real estate.
Yeah. Don't even bother asking them.
Yeah. You're just not going to be able to do it unless you're an ultra high net worth client over 50 million relationship. There's some of the brokerages that do self-directed accounts for those people. The rest of us, we all do the regular self-directed IRA, and even some of those other people. But what you're going to do is you need to move your account. So you're going to just set up a self-directed IRA. Let's say it's a traditional IRA over at Fidelity. You're going to set up a traditional IRA at Directed IRA. You're going to send over the cash that you want. We're going to set up a self-directed IRA here. We receive the cash transfer. It's not taxable. It's just now your IRA is at Directed IRA instead of, instead of Fidelity. It's like your IRA was at Charles Schwab. Now it's at Merrill Lynch. Okay, you've just changed the custodian. No tax ramifications or all. And you can just move a piece of the money too that you want to do with real estate. If there's other funds that you want to self-direct, that you want to buy stocks or mutual funds with in your brokerage IRA, just leave that money behind. Send over the money you want to do on the self-directed deal. So you've got to get over here to square one. So you need the self-directed IRA. That's, of course, what we do at Directed IRA. Now, when you have an IRA account, you can buy real estate directly in an LLC. if you're going to buy real estate, sorry, you can buy real estate directly in your IRA. So I could use the IRA here to buy the property directly. It's not recommended though, particularly for a flip, because what's going to happen is if you want your IRA to buy the property directly, your IRA is going to be on title. It's not you. So it's going to say like, Directed Trust Company, FBO, Aaron Halderman, IRA. All right. And what Aaron's going to have to do, if this is his IRA, he's going to have to send the contract to us at Directed IRA to sign for the IRA. He's going to have to send the closing documents. We're going to have to send the earnest money. We're going to send the funds to close. And we do that for rentals in particular quite a bit. A lot of people still buy the real estate rentals in their IRA. Many use the IRA LLC we're going to talk about. But that's a lot of back and forth, right? You don't like that process.
Yeah, I mean, you won't like it either.
Yeah.
Like, it's a pain in the butt. Can it be done? Yes. Is it like considered best practice? Not really.
Yeah. And like you can do it and it works for a rental because, oh, I just got a property manager, Matt. Once I buy it, they're just going to get the rental income, pay the bills, send the cash flow to my IRA. Cool. We got hundreds, if not thousands of accounts that are doing that. That's
a good example. Like you got one deal, like one rental property. You live in Fort Worth, Texas, and you're like, found this sweetheart deal in my neighborhood. Just going to use my self-directed IRA. Boom, I got a property manager, and that could work just fine in that situation. But like in this, we're talking about doing multiple deals, fixing and flipping.
Yeah, you're going to flip a property,
wholesaling.
Okay. What's going to happen once you buy it? You're going to have contractors working on it. You're going to be buying equipment, materials, paying this stuff and that. You do not want to be submitting that stuff to your self-directed IRA. Like, man, I need to buy this at Home Depot. How do I do it? Well, your IRA, I have to write a check. You know, we're going to send a check or a wire to, to pay an expense. So, but I need a debit card. Okay. Well, that's why many real estate clients, particularly those that flip, and this is my strong recommendation, if you're going to flip a property with your IRA or even do a wholesale deal, wholesale meaning you're just going to get a property under contract and sell the contract. You're not going to buy the property. You're just getting a contractual right and you're selling the contract and getting a fee for that. It could be an assignment fee, whatever you want to call it, wholesale deal. But we want the LLC in the mix because now my IRA owns an LLC 100%. XYZ Investments LLC. The LLC goes out and buys the property. You're manager of the LLC. You have a bank checking account in the LLC's name, just like any LLC, other LLC you have that you may do real estate with. The IRA's cash gets invested in the LLC. You're cutting the checks now.
Yeah.
You got a debit card here if you want to go buy something at Home Depot for the rehab, or you got to buy something online that's going to get shipped to the property or pay a supplier that way or something. So the LLC gives you a couple things. It gives you practical tools to actually do a flip, right? You got the bank account. You got signing authority on the LLC. You can hire the contractor. You can sign the contractor agreements. You can sign a closing when you're buying. And so we love the LLC structure here for a flip.
Just think of it as like any, like right now you have XYZ LLC, okay? XYZ, Property Investments LLC. And you're wiring, you have a business checking account, you're doing the deal, wiring the funds, like same deal applies here. You're going to have a business checking account. You're going to have a specific LLC name, but the member is your IRA of the LLC. And so we're going to get into more details, but here's why I like it actually. Not only like ease of use, but speed. A lot of these times you get a deal or you have certain expenditures and you gotta move quick. You gotta wire some funds, or you gotta write a check or use your debit card. Like if you're having to go through your custodian, your IRA custodian, you're like, hey, I
even us, even us who are amazing.
We're fast. I mean, we are fast.
Yeah, but even that.
And it's still gonna take us a couple days. Well, you gotta move now.
Yeah.
So that's why I like it.
Yeah, and I think that we have clients that have bought property at auction, they run into a deal, they want to get it under contract like that day because they don't want someone else. And so the LLC you're kind of ready to go. You got the money in the LLC bank account, you got the cash on hand, you can contract in the name of the LLC because you're going to be manager of the LLC. All right. And as manager of the LLC, you're going to have signing authority from the LLC. You're going to have signing authority on the bank account of the LLC. All right, you don't get to pay yourself a salary for being the manager. There's always restrictions on IRA LLCs. We got a lot of content on IRA LLCs on the website and in my book here. But I want to just cover it for a couple more minutes here, if you guys don't mind, because it's really for clients that are doing flips. 99% of them are using this IRA LLC structure. So this is like the tool you're going to be using.
Yeah.
We're gonna hit it.
So hang tight.
here.
Some of you might be seasoned or like get it. We're gonna get us some more details, but most of you, you're newer, so this is important that we cover it.
Okay. Tell me when you're ready for some questions, and we'll hit some questions.
Cool.
But one thing on the IRA LLC, it's important in this structure here is we have the IRA owning the LLC 100%. The LLC in turn owns the property. Now, what's nice about this structure is, I already said some nice things before, but because the IRA owns it 100%, it's called a single member LLC or disregarded entity for tax purposes, which means the IRS does not want a tax return for the LLC. So really, you just got to pay the fees to the state each year for the LLC. Now, if you're flipping a property in Arizona, you're going to do an Arizona LLC. You would typically pay fees to the state of Arizona. Arizona just happens to be one of the states that has no fees for LLCs. So once you set up the first time, you're good. But or let's say you're buying a property in Colorado. You're going to do a Colorado LLC, and you're going to pay an annual fee to the state of Colorado for your LLC. Even if you live in California, we, as the law firm and me as an attorney, we're typically telling clients, and this is general, most attorneys that know what they're doing are doing it this way. You're going to set up the LLC in the state you're buying the property. All right. Even if you don't live in that state, we want the LLC in the state where you buy the property, because it's got to get registered in that state at the end of the day anyways. And if you do it in your home state and then register it in, or you do it in Nevada or Delaware or some of these other crazy states that you think are great.
Yeah, don't be cutesy about it.
You're going to have to get it registered in the state you're trying to do business in anyways. Yeah. So, all right, tell me if we got any questions there, or I'll hit the next slide.
So just hit on like the term checkbook IRA, because it's kind of like a slang term or keyword that's used out there. And do we do them?
Okay, checkbook IRA is an IRA LLC. So when someone says set up a checkbook IRA, or I have a checkbook IRA, what that means is you have an IRA and an LLC. Your IRA is a directed IRA, let's say, and then you set up an LLC. And KQS Lawyers does them. We coordinate with them. That's my law firm. But you can use whatever attorney you want. We don't care. They just need to set it up right. For your sake, we have a compliance check on them, which is, it says in our IRA LLC direction of investment form what you need to have in your documents here. So it's not like we're hiding the ball. It's just throw those bullet points in your docs. So, but that's the IRA LLC. It's also called a checkbook IRA, but it's an IRA and an LLC. And that LLC has a checking account, which is where you kind of get the checkbook and the debit card. If you want the debit card too. Don't get a credit card though, okay? If you get a credit card or a line of credit on the LLC, they're generally making you personally guarantee that. And you can't guarantee debt for your IRA or IRA LLC. So don't be doing that. Debit cards, checking account, totally cool.
Now you can't get leverage debt, which we'll cover that in a little bit, but that would be in the form of a non-recourse loan. So we'll get to that. People have been asking if we'll cover that. So yes, we will.
Okay. All right. All right. Sometimes we're going to have multiple IRAs on an LLC. Let's say the property you want to flip is 300 grand and you've got 200,000 in your account, and maybe your spouse has 100,000 in their account. You're like, well, if I throw them together, I could make that 300 grand purchase. Or maybe it's 250 to purchase and 50 to rehab. You know what I mean? Whatever. But between those two sets of funds, you could pull off the deal. And this could be 3, 4, 5 sets of funds. So you can combine multiple accounts into one LLC. As long as you go in at the same time, that LLC can buy the property. Now, many of you may know that IRAs can't buy and sell between each other. Like my IRA couldn't buy and sell between me personally, or my Roth IRA can't buy and sell between my traditional IRA or spouses, okay? Those are all restricted. Just like my IRA can't buy property from me personally, my retirement accounts are restricted to each other, as is your spouse's retirement account, and your kids and parents. People are called disqualified parties to your retirement account. So when I do this LLC, if that's like your IRA and your spouse's IRA, you've got to make sure those IRAs go in the beginning of when you set up the LLC. All right, and you're going to have ownership broken up in the LLC based on the dollars invested. So if I put 300 grand in there and 200,000 came from so let's say your IRA and 100,000 came from your spouse's, that's going to be 2/3 your IRA owns that LLC, 1/3 your spouse's IRA owns it. You know, you make 10 grand, $6,666 is going to be profit essentially for your IRA, 3,333 is going to be for your spouse's. So, so just keep in mind that you're going to always allocate the ownership of the IRA LLC based on dollars invested if you do multiple IRAs. And I've had clients do their kids' Roth IRAs in LLCs with them, particularly on flips and wholesale deals. You know, that's totally fine. You can throw them in. They might have a small little percent, but that's how you help them grow it and get enough money to where they've kind of got enough to do their own deal separately at some point. Now, the downside on this multi-member LLC is because there's more than one owner, it requires a partnership tax return. So it's not single member, so the IRS is going to ask for a tax return. You also got to make sure you set up or you got to renew the LLC with the state. And again, still set up the LLC in the state where you're buying property. All right. What questions we got so far?
Well, so I just want to reiterate again, you know, if you're wanting to combine multiple IRAs or a spouse's IRA or an inherited IRA or your personal funds or like, you know, an LLC that is still you involved personally in that, you can do all that. But to Matt's point, it's like, what's generally the rule of thumb that you know, how many members in that multi-member?
Well, like there's security laws, right? So if you're like, well, I'm just going to go out and raise money and get people to throw in money to this LLC, okay?
Yeah.
Once you're like at 10 or more, like the securities divisions in your state and the federal government is like, what are you doing? Like, this isn't just a partnership or a little deal. Like, it sounds like you're trying to go sell ownership in a company and an investment. So if you're doing over 10, you're going to have like a private placement offering or something like that. You're going to need to be talking to a securities lawyer for securities counsel, but that's the exception. Sometimes we see those fly in here and we're like, who are these people? You know, and how are you guys doing this? So, but if it's like, well, no, it's just my Roth, my traditional, my HSA, my spouse's account, my kids covered up. Cool. I don't care if you got 15 of those. Yeah. But like, if it's just a bunch of 10 random people, I'm like, okay, you may have some securities concerns, and we just want to point those out, of course, when they come in.
So your IRA, like Matt just said, you know, traditional and a Roth, they can both be in it. I mean, I like it. It's cool, I think, but to reiterate, partnership tax return, you know, same money going in, you know, same money that's got to go out if people want to do it. The issue becomes like, we get asked this all the time, like, okay, well, cool. So I got this LLC that I'm personally in, you know, and it's going to be a member, and then my Roth's going to be a member, and then my wife's Roth's going to be a member. So we got 3 members. Like, but I really need the income from that LLC, those personal funds I have going in associated with that. Well, you can't do that. Like, everybody's got to do it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of it's a cool strategy, but you just got to know the guidelines for it.
Yeah. So let's say that example Aaron gave, it's your Roth IRA, your personal LLC, and your spouse's Roth IRA. And let's say they all put in the same amount of money, 1/3 each. It's a $300,000 LLC. Everybody put in 100 grand. And then let's say you made $10,000, and you're like, well, let's say you made $12,000. Sorry, so I hate the like 3,333 versus 6,666. I'm like, I'm always leaving out the change. So
sure.
Let's say it was 12,000.
There we go.
I'm gonna get a whole number out of this. Okay, make $12,000. You're like, man, I could use that money personally, and I'm actually entitled to 1/3 of it. Go to my personal LLC. So 4,000 could go to my personal LLC. Can I just have this multi-member IRA LLC send the 4,000 me personally, and I'll leave my Roth IRA money up in the LLC? Those two and my spouse, they both are entitled to $4 grand.
Yeah.
No, that's what Aaron's saying. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So, but the LLC could just send everybody their fair share. So the multi-member LLC sends $4 grand to your Roth, $4 grand to your spouse's Roth, and then $4 grand to your LLC. Totally cool. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you just gotta know that, like, as part of your strategy, like, you know, of what'll work. And
here's where that specific example happens, because we'll have lots of clients that end up doing a multi-member LLC, just like you said. And they flip property number one. And they're like, all right, I want to do the second property.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, are we going to let all the money stay in there?
Yeah.
And now you're going to do a bigger deal, or you just leave more money in the LLC? And they're like, no, I want to take that 1/3 out. That's me personally. That's where you're stuck. You're like, now everybody's got to stay in or everybody's coming out, so.
That's the bummer. So you just keep it rolling with the intent that you're going to keep it going. And if you're not, it's just that one deal, wind it down.
Yeah.
Just wind it down.
And shut it down and do a new one with just the Roths then for the next one if you don't want to mess with the personal.
Give us timelines on that. I got a lot of people asking, like, how long does it take to set something like this up?
Okay. You got to do two things, remember? You need the IRA, you need the LLC. If you're ready to go, you better start doing both of them at the same time. So, but the IRA has to come first because the IRA is going to own the LLC. So you have to have the IRA in existence. Now, it doesn't have to be funded yet. Let's say your money's at Fidelity, or worse, let's say it's at LPL Financial, who's going to take like a week to like look at your transfer request before even there. I'm not talking about them sending us the money.
Yeah. We're not saying don't use them or whatever.
You're probably if you're there. I'm just saying
it'll take longer.
They're not very well known in the industry for transfer money to other people. If they get a transfer in, they'll take it in a heartbeat. But going out,
imagine that.
Okay, they're not the best in the biz. So, but anyway, so you got to get your account set up, and you need to get the LLC going. So you can get the consult going, so it might take a week to get on the schedule of an attorney to get the LLC going, whether you're using KKOS or another attorney. So you need some time to get the LLC going. The law firm takes a few days to get documents drafted. You got to sign them. Then we'll file it with the state, and then we're waiting on the state. And there's some states we'll turn it around within 24 hours with no additional fee. Some states you don't have to pay an additional fee to get it turned around quickly. Some states are like, you can't even pay a fee, and you're basically you're getting 3 weeks turnaround time. So there's 50 states out there and kind of 50 different outcomes you're going to get. But we can, the attorney, at least at KKOS, we know kind of processing time for the states. If you're like tight and you're like, I already got the property and I got to close fast, you can get a better idea on that for your particular state. But what I say though is get the IRA open, get the LLC going. Once the IRA is open, start your transfer request. So let's say your money's at Fidelity, who is actually better at sending money. We'll get off LPL here for a second. So let's say it's Fidelity that has your funds. And we're going to send a transfer request over to them. By the time the money gets over here, hopefully the LLC is set up. So you're kind of doing the same thing at the same time. Some people make the mistake of doing their IRA, getting it funded, then they finally get the LLC going, and it's like you've just doubled your time to get this set up because you didn't sequence it right. So we know everyone's in a hurry, so we're trying to always sequence as much as we can. But I would say on average 2 to 3 weeks to get it set up. It can be done faster in some states because the processing times are faster, and depending on your custodian to get money over here. But I would say on average 2 to 3 weeks. Now, here's one thing that happens. Clients are like, well, I'm going to flip a property for 400 grand. It's going to take me 200 to buy and another 200 to rehab it. And I don't want to send all that money over there yet because I'm not ready. And I don't know if I'm going to do this one or, I'm still in hunting basically. All right, get your IRA set up, get your LLC set up, and just get like 5 or 10 grand over here that we'll invest into the LLC. And that way your LLC is funded and ready to go. You got a bank account, you know what I mean? You can go and
shred.
Yeah, you're ready to go. Now you can put earnest money down on a property. If you find something you get under contract, you got the LLC there, you can sign a contract. Then you go get the rest of the money transferred over, sell whatever stock or what you're in, get over to directed IRA, and we'll invest the additional money into the LLC. That'll give you more time. That way you're ready to go, so you can go on a deal when you find it. But all your money's not tied up if you're concerned about that and think the market's still going to keep going up. The stock
Exactly.
Okay.
Hit on something on the state setup again. A lot of people are asking that. So like, if I get it, so if I have, I have it set up in where would I set up the LLC? In the state where the property is located or in the state where I'm located?
Yeah.
And what are the ramifications if I set up the LLC in my home state, but my property that I bought with my IRA LLC is in Texas.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say you're in Utah. We had some Utah people.
We did.
Okay. And you did a Utah LLC, but you end up buying a property in Texas. That's cool. We'll just take the Utah LLC and we'll register it foreign into Texas.
There you go.
So now it's a Utah LLC that could buy real estate in Utah, but you've also then foreign registered into Texas. Now you're paying fees in both states, and it's more to do it that way. That's why I say if you're going to buy in Texas, just do a Texas LLC from the beginning. It'll save you paperwork. It'll save you fees on the first year and every year thereafter. So what's one reason of many why we just like to go to the state you're going to buy. Okay, now we have a lot of other content on the LLC, so I don't want to get too much further into it. We have
an IRA LLC page.
Yeah, we have a whole IRA LLC page, and lots of content on it. There's 2 chapters in my book on it. So, but it is important as a discussion because you're generally going to use an IRA LLC to execute a flip or wholesale deal in your IRA.
Ooh, I got a good one before you go on to the next one.
All right, let's hear it.
So I got a single member IRA LLC. Okay, my Roth IRA is the single member in this LLC. And that IRA LLC is going to be a 25% partner, general partner, and you're going to do rental properties or fix and flips. Does that work?
Okay, say that again.
So I got an IRA LLC set up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go invest into another LLC with some buddies.
Okay.
And we're going to go be in the business of fixing and flipping and buying rental properties.
Okay. You could. Sure. I mean, if you just have other buddies, they're not disqualified. It's not like,
That's what I want.
Spouse or kids, but yeah, so your IRA LLC, and if everybody's like, yeah, we're all going to throw in $100,000 and go after this, we'll do a property year or 2 at a time, cool. Let them go in with their personal money for their, say it's 4 of you.
Yeah.
And you go in with your IRA. Cool. Yeah, that's totally fine.
A lot of people don't know that. Like, you think you got to do it all on your own, but you totally don't have to.
Yeah. Now, depends on how you guys are doing it. If you guys are like 4 buddies that like to go work on the property,
yeah,
and you guys all like to go throw your tool belts on, and
or even one of you.
Yeah, or even just you, okay, now it's going to cause a problem. And so let's go into like what you can actually do when you when you buy a property with your IRA or IRA LLC or solo K, okay? So there's common privileged transactions that arise. Now the Government Accountability Office, the GAO, did a report on self-directed IRAs and common mistakes that people make. I actually consulted with the GAO on this. They did use this. They read the self-directed IRA handbook, which is kind of cool. They met me at a conference, and I saw them get the book, and I did some conference calls with them. But there's just some of the things, and they talked to other people, of course, and did a pretty thorough report. It's actually a pretty good report. Any of you really want to geek out on self-directed stuff, go get that GAO report. It's noted on the slide there. But here's some of the things people do on real estate in particular. You can see one of the things that identify as being common. Personally repairing the rental home or flip or doing the rehab, okay? That's a privileged transaction. And these privileged transactions are things that will disqualify your retirement account, will get it distributed early. If you're under 59 and a half, you pay a penalty, and you no longer have a retirement account. You lose all the tax incentives and benefits of the account. And if you have one little mistake in your, let's say you've got a $500,000 IRA and you make a $5,000 mistake in it, you lose the whole IRA.
So let's break that down even further. What does that mean exactly? Like, what are the consequences if my IRA is distributed?
Okay, let's say you have, just think you have $500,000 of cash in your IRA right now. All right, you're basically, that account is no longer exists. You personally have $5,000 of cash, just as if like you took a $500,000 early distribution. That's what it. So they're like, you don't have a retirement account anymore. You still have the asset, the IRS is going to take that, but they're like, we've revoked all the tax incentives and benefits of the retirement account. And by the way, you're paying penalties because you took this asset out early. That's the consequence that's forced on you if you have a privileged transaction. So now this is specific for IRAs. That's the penalty for IRAs. 401ks just have a penalty on the amount involved. But for IRAs, it's consequences distribution of the entire account. So you got to be careful of these rules where you can make a mistake, where you can have a privileged transaction. So here's one area I would look at. These are probably the two areas I see the most mistakes and questions. One is personally working on the property.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a rehab, you definitely cannot do that. All right.
There's no gray area.
Yeah, like you like picking up the hammer as you see there in the diagram, in the picture, that is not okay. All right. Now you can show up and make sure things are happening and tell people what to do and make sure that this was done and they use that properly and that this, permit got signed off on. That's totally fine.
Like you're having some oversight.
Yeah.
Overseeing.
Yeah. And so management and administrative tasks are fine to do. But physical work and improvement of the property is going to cause a problem. Okay. You're going to have a privity transaction issue with the IRS if you're doing that.
But Matt, how will they know?
How do they know that your business lunch that you said was a business lunch and deducted as a business expense? All right. Was that a lunch with your friend or was that really a business thing? Like our tax code in many ways is this on your honor system. So
there we go.
For me, it's like, just don't do it. Like, is there a privity transaction police out there? Not really. But you still got to follow the rules. And I think that's what most people, we're all trying to do is make sure we're doing this right. And they're not that hard. Frankly, the rental properties I personally own, they're better off if I don't work on them. All right. And I can work on those. They're better off if I don't. And many of you out there are the same. All right. I hate to say it, but many of you are. Okay.
And even if you can build a house or repair a house, still don't do it.
Yeah, with your IRA, it's just a no-go. Okay. The other one that I see come up where people make a mistake is they'll pay for something personally that they shouldn't have. There's really something for the property. And one I've had to deal with multiple clients that have made mistakes is the property tax bills. The ones people like, it just comes and you pay the property tax bill personally instead of paying it from the IRA or IRA.
Or you had your card on file that was your personal card or whatever.
And it just gets hit and run and you're like, that was not, and obviously on these repairs and stuff, you've got to pay from the LLC. This is an interesting example because I felt the pressure of this and I've talked to so many clients over this years. I have a rental property in my LLC that my retirement account owns. I just had a tenant move out. I just got the bill from my property manager. It's going to be about $7,000 to repair the damage that this tenant left behind before we rent it again. Obviously, I was not happy.
Yeah.
I've been buying crypto with the LLC when I have my cash flow. So I'm sitting on a bunch of crypto in there, and I have some cash in there, but I didn't have 7,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could just pay this personally and just pay the property manager. And I know, and I have to think about it. So many clients would have done that and thought, I'm thinking the same thing. It'd just be easier. But no, I sold some crypto, got the more money back, cash in the LLC bank account to pay for the repairs. And so don't get caught up in that. Just be careful. Just keep, these are like separate things. All right. Don't.
Your IRA owned the crypto.
Yeah, my IRA owned the crypto.
So just want to make sure.
Yeah, my LLC. Sorry, if I didn't say that. So the IRA LLC, when I had cash flow, I would just buy crypto. I would, get $1,000 in there at a time. I'd be like, all right, I'm just going to buy crypto, which has been great actually. So, but I had to sell some of that, get back to my LLC in cash, and then could cover the repairs. But don't personally come in and bail out your retirement account. All right, that's really the principle there. Retirement account gets the benefit of all the income on it, but it's got to cover the expenses too.
Or you might need to get a loan.
Yes.
And there's a couple ways to do that.
Okay, let's talk about the loan actually.
Because we did get a bunch of questions on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about getting debt. So let's say when you're rehabbing you're buying a property, to acquire. Can I get a loan to buy the property? Yes and no. I mean, yes, it's possible, but it's not as common as it is in the rental space. When you get debt to buy real estate with a retirement account, 401k, IRA, LLC, whatever structure you're using, you have to get what's called a non-recourse loan, which is a loan that you don't guarantee. See, there's a rule for retirement accounts to say when your retirement account buys an asset, you cannot guarantee debt for it.
Mm-hmm.
So if Aaron's IRA is buying something, Aaron can't guarantee the debt on it. And most banks, if his IRA is buying something or his LLC, are going to say, okay, well, Aaron, you're guaranteeing this.
Yeah.
And there's a number of banks out there that provide what are these called non-recourse loans, where they'll lend money to your IRA, LLC, Solo K, find the property. If you go to our Learn section, you can find some of our relationships, and there's a number of banks on there that do these non-recourse loans for retirement accounts buying real estate. But they're lending on rentals. Okay, I don't know any of those banks that do loans for people flipping a property.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all those lending programs are specific for rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Now
they'll do it if it's not like, you know, with your IRA involved. You know, they'll do it, but not
these non-recourse loans.
It's rentals.
These non-recourse loans, they want it to be a rental. And they're basically lending on the property, and you may have to put 30% down. Okay, these non-recourse loans, you don't get 10%, 5% down, not even 20. Okay, you're doing 30 and sometimes 40 depending on the property type. So, but the banks don't like doing non-recourse loans for flips. It's conceivable you could do it, but many of them throw in a prepayment penalty within the first year or two. So it kind of doesn't work, even if you try and like skirt around it and be like, well, I am going to rent it, or maybe you are. Maybe you're going to rehab it and rent it for a year or two and then intend to sell. I have many clients that do that actually. It's possible you could do the non-recourse loan. Just be careful on any prepayment penalties because they usually try and tie those up for a year or two. Okay, now what you could do though is you could get seller financing. All these creative acquisition things you can do with in the real estate space. Sure, have the seller finance it. Go buy the property, seller financed, and make sure it's non-recourse. So if your LLC, your IRA LLC is buying the property, the IRA LLC can be on the note. You can sign as manager of the LLC for the LLC getting the loan, but you cannot throw a personal guarantee on it. If the seller asks that. There's a case called Peak and Fleck versus Commissioner where some people did that. They used their Roth IRA, they bought a business, and they got the seller financing to buy the business. And they ended up having a prohibited transaction because they guaranteed the loan, and it disqualified their retirement account. Okay. The other thing on debt to know, okay, so if you're going to get debt, the first thing is it's got to be non-recourse. The second thing on debt, and this is, again, I'm just highlighting some issues here. This is the thing with talking about a specific deal type is there's more we can talk about, but I just got to flag the issues. I can't explain it in full. There's a tax called UDFI, unrelated debt financed income, that applies to IRAs. Solo Ks are exempt from this, but that applies to IRAs getting debt to purchase the asset. So if you do use debt, even seller financing, to buy an asset with your IRA, the IRS is going to charge a tax on profits from the debt. Okay, it's a little complicated. It's not the end of the world. Many people still get these non-recourse loans, particularly with IRAs, because they can buy more assets with it and get a greater return at the end of the day, even if they pay a little bit of tax on the debt that they throw into the deal. We have, again, way more webinars, resources on UDFI, also a chapter in my book. There's lots of articles that we have on that as well. So that's called UDFI. So I just want to flag that. And basically what it is let's just take an example. Let me just explain it quick. If you buy a property for 100 grand, you put 40,000 down from the IRA and you get 60,000 in debt. Let's say the seller just finances 60 grand. He's like, all right, throw me 40 now and I'll finance 60,000 at 6% interest over the next 5 or 10 years. Or even like maybe 2 years, because I'm going to flip it anyways and I'll get you paid off in 2. All right. Well, when the IRS looks at that, they're like, all right, your IRA bought something for 40. It also bought something for 60, but we're not given the no tax treatment when you make money over here. It's almost like you put in 40 of IRA money and 60 of personal money, where you got to pay tax over here. So they're not giving your IRA the benefit of this leverage over here. IRAs and 401ks and pension plans do get the benefit of it because they're exempt from this tax on real estate of UDFI only. But IRAs have to pay this tax on the profits attributable to the debt piece of the deal. The more debt you have, the more profits you're going to have from debt, so the more this tax can apply. That's a basic example. Again, a lot more resources on it, but I just want to make sure you're flagged on what UDFI is. Okay, let's talk about the next issue. And as I really think if you're going to flip a property with your IRA, you're going to use an IRA LLC. You're not going to work on the property, or you're not going to do work, or even if you're a general contractor, okay, your company's not pulling the permits and stuff. Again, I don't mind you being over there and supervising and looking at stuff because you know what to do better, but we don't want you like swinging a hammer or doing physical work, okay? So you're doing administrative and management oversight stuff. That's cool. And you're avoiding working on the property. And then the third thing is you need to be aware of this tax called UBIT, or sometimes called UBTI. It's unrelated business income tax, okay? Now this is a tax that's basically, it's a tax on business income. See, when retirement accounts were created, they were designed to receive investment income. Well, what's investment income? Rental income, interest income, dividend income. Like publicly traded companies or C Corps, they pay dividends. That's dividend income, it's exempt. So when your IRA owns Microsoft, it gets dividend income. Capital gain income is exempt, all right? But there's an exemption for capital gain income in UBIT, and it specifically says that this exemption does not apply to property purchased in the ordinary course of business with the intent to immediately resell.
That's key.
Okay, and this is like section 512 of the tax code. Yeah, and that's key, those words. Ordinary course of business with intent to immediately resell. Well, Matt, what if I just buy one property and flip it? Do I have UBIT? No, you're not in the ordinary course of business. You intended to buy it and immediately resell it, but you did one deal.
Yeah.
You're not in the ordinary course of business. UBIT does not. UBIT's going to be.
But I'm going to do 10 of them.
Okay.
Because I'm a stud.
Yeah. All right. Now, if your IRA does 10 of them, your IRA is going to be deemed to be in the business of real estate. And there's cases on this outside of retirement accounts on what is, the business of real estate or not, essentially. And so we know if you're doing that many deals with your IRA, the IRS is going to probably say, that's the business of real estate. Obviously, you bought with the intent to immediately resell. UBIT's going to apply. We're not letting you use the capital gain exemption and get out of UBIT with your retirement account.
So is there like a safe number? Do I got like a safe number that I can do?
Now, there's no guidance on this from the IRS. There's nothing in the code. There's no specific case on it.
Okay, listen up on this part. This is key.
Yeah, so our guidance is generally 1 to 2 properties a year that you flip in your IRA, no UBIT. 3 or 4, gray area. 5 or 6 or more, you're gonna have UBIT. All right, so if you're like, man, I can only have the capacity to do 1 or 2 a year. Cool, you're not gonna have to stress about this. If you're like, man, I want to do 1 of these a year, let's think of some other strategies. Maybe your account's going to do 2. Your spouse's account's going to do 2. You're going to do a Roth IRA for one of your kids that you're going to help get involved in your family business. It's going to do 2. Maybe open up a solo K and you do a couple over there. You know what I mean? And the same thing can be said for just a wholesale deal. If you're not buying real estate to flip, you're just wholesaling contracts. So, because each IRA, an individual, is a separate taxpayer under the rules, even if you're married between you and your spouse. So, if there was UBIT due, you'd be filing a separate tax return for you, separate tax return for your spouse's IRA, and paying this UBIT tax. So you're kind of getting this 1 or 2 deals a year. I think you'd be okay from a UBIT standpoint with your IRA, having a short-term deal. And when we say these deals, by the way, we're talking about this is a property you buy and flip within a 12-month period. If you hold properties over a year, or you buy them and end up renting them and selling them later,
that's different.
Those are different. Don't count those. Those are totally capital gain.
Immediate resell.
Yeah, it's like you buy it, you're rehabbing it, and you immediately sell it. All right, and it's under a year. Those are the ones you got to be careful of. Make sure you're only doing 1 or 2 a year. Now, some clients say, well, Matt, why don't I just open 100 IRAs and I'll do 100 Roth IRAs and I'll do 2 flips per Roth IRA. So I can do 200 flips a year, right? Wrong. All right. No. Okay. This is the tax concept of, what is it? Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered.
That is what
okay. You're hogging out right now. All right. You're going to get killed. All right. The IRS is like waiting for someone to go over the line here. So don't get caught in the crosshairs.
IRS would see 15498 forms.
That's the form your custodian files for your IRA 5498. So we want to be just cautious on that. Get some specific advice. If you're like, well, I'm in the 3 or 4 area, or I'm definitely doing 5 or more, I'm looking to do that. Just make sure you get some good tax advice from a CPA or attorney, so they can kind of either help you with some strategy, or so you just kind of know what to expect. And sometimes I've had clients just pay the UBIT. I mean, we do the 990T returns all the time. You know, sometimes clients just have to do them and pay the tax, and that's just how it goes.
So does fixing and flipping, do the same principles that we're talking about here apply when assigning contracts or doing wholesaling?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and we get that question. Again, this is something where there's not a lot of guidance from the IRS, but I'm pretty certain they're going to apply it the same way. I think some people are a little frustrated with that answer I give, because they're like, well, Matt, how come I can day trade in my IRA all day?
Okay.
Like I could buy stock at 10, sell it at 11, rebuy it at noon, sell it at 1, go to the next stock, and I can do 100 trades in a day.
Yeah.
And
No UBIT.
That's not UBIT. But now I do real estate with that.
Yeah.
Let me just say the financial services industry's done a better job than the real estate industry on these rules and when the policy and laws have been getting developed. And there are definitely cases on UBIT being applied to real estate. And so that's where there's no cases on UBIT being applied to, you know, buying and selling stock. So that's the big concern. We want to be careful on it in terms of the flips. So just be cautious on that. That's our approach to it. I think the contracts
Apply in there as well.
Apply in the same way.
Let's just recap again, you know, because people are kind of asking the same question repeating on here. Like if I'm only doing a couple deals, you know, let's say I'm doing 2 flips or 1 flip and I'm doing 1 wholesale, you know, or I'm doing double closes, whatever. Do I need the IRA LLC?
Well, the IRA LLC has nothing to do with UBIT. The IRA LLC has to do with convenience. Like to do 1 flip, you know, I mean, the IRA LLC is going to give you a bank account. It's going to let you sign on the contracts to buy the property, to sell the property,
you can do it,
to hire the contractors. All right, you're doing all that stuff. If you try to flip a property in your IRA, I guarantee you're going to hate the process. Even though our staff is amazing here, and I think we do an amazing job, yeah. I just don't think it's just not a good structure. You know, it's like you took a race car on a dirt road that Jeeps should be on, you know, like it's just going to not be a great ride. So I just want to get you in the right vehicle. The truck here, Jeep in the example, would be the IRA LLC. Okay, it's built for that. It's more versatile. You can do stuff with it faster yourself. And I just think it's plus there's asset protection with an LLC. All right. You know, if something goes wrong on the deal, they have to sue the LLC. If subcontractor gets hurt or whatever, they can't sue your IRA or sue you personally. You know, is your IRA, you're the responsible person making decisions on the IRA. So if there's negligence in your IRA's investments, that's on a real estate deal, the plaintiff that gets hurt, the subcontractor, the neighborhood kid that wanders over and gets hurt, you know, that they're going to sue the person behind the IRA. They're going to sue you personally because you're the one that makes decisions for the IRA. And that's going to be a liability that can end up on you personally. The LLC, though, you get limited liability protection. The manager of the LLC is protected as well under the laws. That's why people, businesses, real estate investors use LLCs.
So even if you're, let me make this comment. If you're just going to do wholesaling and you're not a flipper, because a lot of people, you're like, no, I'm a wholesaler. Same deal applies. Like if it, like, let's say the deal falls apart and then you get sued for negligence, or, you know, you had some, you know, your option money that was put down and it fell to crap, and then they come after you because the property went up in value, or they lost out on something, or who knows what happens. Like you have that same limited liability protection. Yeah. So don't try and get like cute or get around some, like do it right. Like make the investment to get it set up right. You know, educate yourself on, you know, what it is you're trying to do exactly. And like take all those things into consideration, like while you're doing this.
Yeah. Now I will say, and I can see the question, I get the question where someone would say, what about a wholesale deal though? Come on guys, do I need an LLC for that? I mean, the actual property and rehab is definitely more involved where the LLC is more valuable. Yeah. I get it. And I understand where the question's coming from. And I do see clients who who wholesale a property, a contract, or they have an option on it and they have no LLC. and it's basically a little bit of paperwork getting it under contract.
Yeah.
They got some option or earnest money tying it up, and they assign it for a fee, and they have a contract to sell that option or contract. That can be done.
Yeah.
That is more doable without the IRA LLC, and we certainly do quite a bit.
We just did one of those. We just had one. We did it on
Yeah,
Friday, I think.
Yeah, we're doing them all the time.
Yeah.
And so that is possible. The LLC might be nicer if you're going to keep doing this all the time. But if you're like, hey, I'm just going to try it once or twice and see how it goes, and I think I can do it in the IRA. It's like I don't need the LLC for speed or anything right now. I kind of know what I'm doing and feel like I can negotiate these and get the contracts done. Cool. Let's just do it in your IRA. I mean, that's okay. Like I'm not trying to sell LLCs, by the way. Like I just think it's the right structure where they use KQS lawyers, which by the way, they're $800. That's the fee we KQS
for single member.
For single member plus the state filing fee, depending on your state, and then multi-member, more than one IRA, it's $1,500 plus the state filing fee.
Plus you still have your IRA fees.
Yeah, plus you have your IRA account fees. That's just
a lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
You still got to have an IRA.
Yeah, which our fee's $295 for an annual fee for an IRA, $50 to go into an LLC, and then $50 new account fee. So you're really paying $395 first year, and then $295 each year thereafter. If you're just buying real estate directly in the IRA, I believe it's $75 processing fee. But our account fees are unique. We just have a one-time annual fee of $295, no matter how many assets you have. And then we just have a processing fee when you're buying or selling something. So if you're holding an asset for 10 years, whether it's an LLC or a property, or maybe you're lending in a note, like we're not charging you $300 a year like some of our competitors per asset.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can have 10 assets in there. We're just charging you $50 here when you buy, $50 there when you sell. The max fee we have is $75,
$100,
or it's $100, but it wouldn't apply to some of the things we've talked about.
Yeah.
So,
tell me this: if I have, let's say, am I using my IRA LLC? Should I be setting up multiple LLCs, per property or deal that I'm doing?
Depends. So if you're flipping, no.
Okay.
Like if you were holding properties and they're
right.
rentals, now we've got asset protection issues because you're holding. And we want to separate them out because if something happens on property number one, this affects property number two. But if these are little properties, you don't have more than 250 grand of equity between the properties, we'll just throw them all into one LLC. I'm just talking when I say we, like me as a lawyer, like kind of my law firm's advice. But if you're flipping properties, I just use the same LLC.
To buy multiple ones, because a lot of you are asking, like, can I reuse that LLC? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, we want you to.
Yeah, just you sell one property and then the next one just use that same LLC, and then yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let me hit on this for those of you that are hot to trot on wanting to do foreign. They want to buy foreign property.
Okay.
So I've had that asked probably a dozen times.
All right, cool.
So I'm wanting to buy foreign property.
Okay. All right, we're to the Q&A section now, so it's about time we got some foreign questions. Yeah, you can. I mean, and you need the IRA LLC though, because that's what the thing with an IRA custodian, they don't want to hold a foreign asset like us or any of our competitors. I was outside counsel for a lot of other companies in this space before I got involved. And here's the problem. Like, let's say that you let someone's IRA buy something in France. First of all, your team can't even read the documents. Mm-hmm. You don't even know what the heck it says. And if there's a legal thing that happens on that or notices that come, you don't know what to do with it. If you got to get subpoenaed or something in those countries, you got to have someone go appear in France. Now, I mean, someone might, volunteer for that here, but it's just not practical to do it. There's just wait for like a $295 fee, we charge. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. So what you can do though, the best, again, a lot of this is about finding the right practical tool, is just do the LLC. Have the IRA own a US based LLC, and I've had lots of clients buy foreign real estate with this structure. So I had, Belize was one I did probably like 10 of these in like a few months because I had just a group of clients of other investors just buying short-term rentals basically in Belize. And they were, most of them were in Florida, a couple of them were in Georgia. We did some Florida LLC if you're in Florida, Georgia LLC if you're in Georgia. Registered in, they got an IBC, which is basically a foreign entity that works in Belize. So the US LLC owned essentially a Belize entity, which owns Belize property.
Mhm.
And
That's
how you do
typically
it.
what we see.
Yeah, and that's how you do it. And that's I think the right way to do it is just use a US LLC, have the US LLC typically own the foreign country LLC, which then in turn owns the property.
I like it.
All right. Okay, let's see what other questions you got.
Okay, so, and this has been good. I think we've had a lot, we've answered 70 plus questions just from Directed IRA staff. So thank you for those of you that have helped that. So Rob says, even wholesaling sounds like the LLC option would be helpful because you could give the seller or title company an earnest money deposit by check or wire rather than ask the custodian for the deposit to wire. Yeah, that's a good statement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that comment. Very true. Here's the ones where we do get pushback. Let's say you're in California and you're doing California deals. California has a fee on LLCs every year, minimum tax of $800.
Yeah, California Franchise Tax Board.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys got the beach there, but
Paying the sunshine tax
you
rate.
also got all the weird taxes there, like the $800 minimum tax on LLCs. That even though your retirement account is essentially non-taxable, not in the state of California, they're going to at least get the $800 for the LLC. So that one I see a little more pushback and like, is it worth the $800 every year? And I get it, but sometimes like if you're rehabbing a property, it's going to be worth it. Build it into your expense is how you're thinking of it, is my opinion on it.
Let me just recap non-recourse loans real quick. Typically the IRA has got to come in with 30, 40, 50%, depending upon the non-recourse lender. We have a few of them. If you go under the Learn section, you can hit some of our strategic relationships. You'll see some non-recourse lenders. There's not many in the country. There's like less than a dozen that'll even do them, nationwide that is. And again, you have some tax that you got to look at, that UDFI, and then, it's a full underwriting packet. Same deal applies. So you can go through that. That's how it works. Now, a lot of them have minimums. We met with Titan Bank not too long ago, and what did he say? He'd go down as low as like 50, 60 grand. They would do
of the loan amount,
of the
not
loan
the
amount.
purchase price of a property, but of a loan amount. Yeah, so it means you're buying 100,000 plus property.
So I just want to hit on that. This is a good one from Chris. I'm a real estate agent. Can I list my own flips even if I don't take a commission?
I'm probably okay with that. I mean, that's again, the IRS is.
I'm listing my own IRA flip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Like, you're not going to get a commission on it. Again, you're providing assistance in the sale of the asset. You're not working on it or anything like that. And this is where people are like, well, how come I can do the sale, but I can't physically work on it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it gets into this, is this more administrative and management in nature, or is this more physical labor?
Mm-hmm.
And I just am of the opinion, and I'm just interpreting the rules and after reading every case and revenue ruling and DOL opinion, I don't think the IRS cares if you're the agent. They care if you make a commission on it. Now, they do care on the rehab because that's unfairly adding value to the retirement account. You could say, well, but I'm unfairly adding value by not taking a commission. Okay. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I just haven't seen the IRS go that route.
Mm-hmm.
They're not looking for that. They're more concerned about you taking a commission and making money on your IRA, not saving it money in the context of like a sales commission type thing. So, and if you're concerned about it, and that's why I say this, like, there's just some of these things are just not guidance from the IRS. There hasn't been a case in tax court yet. The IRS hasn't had to speak on it yet. And so, it's just guidance. If you're like a little nervous about it, have one of your friends list it that's an agent. You're certainly in the real estate business. Get a good deal on it right now. You certainly don't have to pay a lot of money to list properties. Now, the same goes on the buyer's side. If you're an agent, don't take the buyer's agent commission. Just negotiate it out of the deal. Just say, hey, I'm not bringing a buyer's agent commission in the middle here. Say, knock off the 2.5% you're offering or the 3% you're offering for a buyer's agent commission on the purchase price. You do that anyways. Anybody, try and get that. So
exactly.
Just try and negotiate it off on the purchase.
Oh, I did have one that it got answered, but let me see if I can find it. I think it was centering around Airbnb, VRBO, but it was really a a step transaction, and I want to cover the step transaction. Okay, here it goes. I have a rental property in my personal name or personal LLC. Okay, it's used for, Airbnb, VRBO as a vacation rental. My nephew acts as, the property manager, and nephew rents and manages it for 4 months and doesn't like to VRBO rental stuff. Can I buy it back with my IRA Roth, or is there a time clause for that? Okay, so let's just recap that. I have a personal LLC, or it's just in my personal name. I have a VRBO. I sell it to my nephew, okay, and now I want to buy it back with my Roth IRA LLC. Can I do that? And is there a time clause?
No, you cannot. Doesn't matter the time. You could wait 10 years and it ain't gonna work. So there's something called, Aaron mentioned it, the step transaction doctrine. It's in my book. Basically, see what he's talking about there is, he knows the rule, because he knows that he can't just sell the property from his personal LLC to his Roth IRA, right? That'd be prohibited.
Yeah.
That's basically, just for those that aren't familiar, like, you can't buy and sell assets between yourself and your IRA. The IRS is like restricted. I mean, it's in the Congress restricted when they wrote the rules on this stuff. And they did that for good reason. They know we'd manipulate that stuff. And that's the point. Like, they don't want people just, screwing up and moving money from a non-taxable thing over to a taxable, from what they pay tax on personally over to their retirement account. They just think that's some unfairness there. And it creates an opportunity for manipulation. So it's like, okay, I know I can't do that, but why don't I sell it to my nephew who's not disqualified under the rules, and then I'll have my Roth buy it from my nephew. The IRS calls that a step transaction. Anytime you put a straw person in the middle of a transaction, really in the tax code in general, and the outcome is that you have a nephew in the middle that was just kind of the disguise here.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work. The IRS is going to blow through that. They're going to just treat it like your Roth IRA bought the property from you. And so you can't do those deals. Sorry.
I get it. Listen, we get it. We know you're trying to be creative. I don't want to say like you're necessarily trying to be around. You're like, oh, I got a creative strategy.
Right, yeah, sometimes
trying to be like creative and figure out how to do this, get money into my IRA so I can have the benefit of it being tax-free or tax deferred later. Like, we totally get what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah, and what I just say is, just on the next deal you do, use that Roth IRA.
There you go.
Just don't buy it. Just don't, you're probably, if you're a real estate investor, you just always are acquiring properties, or that's part of your plan is to grow and have more assets. Just do the next one in your Roth IRA. Find a deal like the one you already have that you like, obviously, if you want to keep it. Just get that one from the get-go in your IRA from some third-party seller.
Okay, so we'll do a couple more questions and then wrap it up. But here on the well, not on the screen, on your screen, if you're watching this, or for those of you that are listening in and don't see our screen, if you use the code webinar50 in section 1 of the account application at Directed IRA, you can get your IRA account at Directed IRA and save $50. So what that'll do is it'll waive that one-time new account establishment fee, which is $50. And all you'll have is the $295 low flat annual fee that you have there. So go ahead and use webinar 50. You can go to directedira.com and you can go open an account, and we'll get that set up for you within 24 hours and then help you bring money into that account to start the funding process. If you're wanting to do the IRA LLC, you can give us a call and we'll help you walk through that intake form, or you can also access the IRA LLC intake form on our site under the LLC section or on the new accounts page to set up an account. It's super easy to do. And then we'll contact you to get a time to meet with an attorney over at KKOS Lawyers to get that set up. Cool?
Love it.
Yeah, so it'll be easy peasy. So, all right, let's do a couple rapid fire rounds and then we'll wrap it up. Thanks everyone for hanging in there. Hope you got a lot of value in today's session. We enjoy it. It's a great topic, and we're excited for you to use these strategies. What would be the reason that I would use an LLC in the state where I'm doing my deals? Like, why would I do that?
Because, see, if you're going to do business, like, so LLCs, let's say you're like, Well, Matt, here's the one question I get. I got to be specific because it helps understand it. I'm buying a property in Arizona. I live in Arizona, but I've heard you should use a Nevada LLC. All right. And so why don't I just use a Nevada LLC? Well, Arizona isn't going to recognize that Nevada LLC. If you have someone come in here, the Nevada LLC owns it, and something happens on the property, you're like, hey, I got a Nevada LLC, state of Arizona, and the courts in Arizona, and the judge in Arizona you're going to get sued on is going to be like, this didn't exist in Arizona. You did not register here. Now you can have a Nevada LLC and then register it, what's called forward into Arizona to then own the Arizona property, and now you're legit. But now you've just paid 2 state fees, and you're going to do that every year you own the LLC. So why am I going to go in one state to then move it to register it into another? So you have to have the LLC registered in the state you're buying the property and selling the property. All right. Particularly if you're going to rent the property. All right. You're going to run into issues if you don't have at least if you're using a property manager, someone that's going to make you kind of follow the rules. So just be careful. Sometimes you're going to have a title company when you go to sell that LLC is not registered in the state. Ask you if it's registered in the state and it can cause issues. We just want the LLC to be registered in the state you're buying property. And so that's why, like, if you live in Minnesota and you're buying property in Michigan, I'm just going to do a Michigan LLC because you're going to have to register it over there anyways.
So there you go. Okay, this is a great one. Can I have a property that, or multiple properties that I intend to flip in my IRA LLC, but can I use a private lender, for all these deals for the purchase, for part of the purchase and rehab?
Absolutely. As long as that private lender lends non-recourse. Now remember, you might have UDFI because the private lender is going to put money in you're going to have some debt. So remember that UDFI issue if you're using an IRA. 401ks, solo Ks would be exempt from that. Yeah, you might have a
and that's very common. Most people don't have several $100,000 in the IRA. You may have 100,000, but the deals you're doing, you're buying it for 80 and you need like 40 or 50 in rehab. You're going to have to get a private non-recourse or through an institution, or it's seller finance, but it's still got to be non-recourse. Okay. So it sounds to me like that I should do a solo K, Matt, and not an IRA LLC. So a lot of people ask like, well, I guess I need to do a solo K and not an IRA LLC. That's if you qualify.
Yeah, not everyone can do a solo K. So that was our webinar last month. All right. And the big message on the solo K was everyone wants one, but only 1 out of 10 really qualify and can have one. All right. Solo K is meant for someone who's self-employed, no employees, has a real business. All right. And it's more expensive. You got to set up a plan and all this. And so we love it for those of you that are self-employed with no employees that have a real business. That's great. We love the solo K and definitely do it because of some of these perks, like not having to worry about debt. But one thing Aaron said, actually, most people that are flipping properties, I've helped people do LLCs over the years and stuff, they're just buying with cash, actually. There are some that are getting debt and leveraging and doing creative strategies. But you know what? After they've done a few flips, now they've got enough cash. They don't need the debt.
Which is cool.
Yeah, like they've built it up now where they've got to keep all the profits. They had to pay a little UDFI in their first few deals, but now they've got enough that they don't need it. And so then they stop having to worry about paying UDFI moving forward.
So here's what I'll say. We went through like 100+ questions. We have a bunch more, but just go to directedira.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see schedule a new account appointment. Okay, this isn't like a consult where we're going to answer any tax or legal questions. What we are going to go over is like the IRA portion and some of the structures or strategies that you can do for what we talked about today. If you have tax questions, legal questions, and you're wanting to do the IRA LLC structure, we'll handle the IRA piece, but you'll need to schedule time with an attorney. You can use KKOS Warriors, or you can use another attorney group that wants to set that up. Like, that's totally cool as far as we're concerned. But you can go do that. It's totally free. You do it for 30 minutes, get on somebody's calendar, and we'll go over the your unique situation and what works for you, and hopefully, get your questions answered. Cool. So I think
Yeah,
that's it.
And I just say there's lots of other webinars we've done. So we've done one on rentals. We did one on the solo case. For those of you that may be unfamiliar with, like, maybe I should do a solo case. I'm self-employed. Go check that one out. That was last month. And then go to the webinars page. Make sure you're signed up for our newsletter. You can do it directedira.com. Just get signed up for the newsletter. You'll get the announcements on the upcoming webinars that you can register for. We do these once a month. And if there are topics too, I don't know we've decided on next month's webinar, have we?
For August, no, we do. I don't think we're doing the private REIT yet. We're going to do that soon.
Okay.
Might not be until September.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll come around to some of the other topics. Just stay tuned to the newsletter. Get over to the webinar page at directedira.com. This will be posted. Just give us a day or two. We'll get the recording up as well as a copy of the slides. Thank you for your attending, and thanks everyone for your questions, hanging in there. Thanks for the Directed IRA team for coming in and answering questions. We have an amazing team here and staff, and hopefully you enjoyed working with them if you get the opportunity to.
All right.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Go Suns.
Suns in 5.